to those particular cases,
Well,
incidents?
I can't tell you what the status is today. I can tell you where I left it when I left. I testified multiple times on the fact that Tic-Tac, there's some great eyewitness accounts of what is described as the Tic-Tac. What was lacking is data, right? So I worked with one of the pilots to try to tease out a little bit more of what exactly was it that we were potentially witnessing, and by the descriptions of everything from water disturbance to motion, relative motion, and how you can maybe see what you're seeing. Unfortunately, what's going to happen is, I think that one, my opinion is that one is going to remain unresolved because there is no data. There is no radar data. Allegations of the secret black helicopter that came and picked up the tapes. None of that happened. There's no evidence that somebody pulled the tapes off. What does happen, and this is why we had to change the data retention policy, was all of these platforms have fixed storage or fixed amount of storage, and they only retain the data for any given mission, maybe a day, and unless there is a problem with the platform that they use the data for diagnostics for. And then the next time that platform goes out, the data is overwritten. So there's no conspiracy in that. That's just how the military operates with these data tapes and whatnot. So we did write new policy that said, hey, look, if you're reporting a UAP, you have to save all of that data and transmit it to AARO within some period of time. So I think the Tic-Tac is so far back in time, there's no data. We went and looked for all the data. But the other thing that I asked around a bit, which I don't know, it certainly hadn't been answered by the time I left, was, there wasn't a lot of asking or questioning of other activities that might have been going on at the time, either naval activities or adversary activities. And both of those needed to be explored at that time, because records of when tests, for example, were done that far back in time may not be accurate or exist, and records of any adversary activity will be hard to track down for exact date and time stamps, right? And those are the kinds of things that you want to get. So we'd have to look at that. All right, so Go Fast actually was explained at the NASA panel. They did a really nice job of pulling that apart and demonstrating that was parallax. I think where I left that with AARO was to take the analysis from NASA, double checks everybody, and then put that out as closure. I don't know where the status of that is. That's where I left it. And Gimbal, we had hypothesized was likely an artifact of how the sensor operates, as well as looking at a known object, probably a jet, and then seeing how that, a FLIR, blurs all of that kind of information. And so the only way you're going to prove that is you actually have to recreate it in the lab. And so one of the things that I had tried to get started before I retired was to do that, get the actual sensor platform or one of the laboratory surrogates, and go recreate the entire scene in the lab and make sure that it does what we think it does, so that you could close that out as well. I don't know where that stands today, but that's what I had intended then.